if the strongest warriors in One Piece could be defeated without even fighting them? What if Kaido, who survived 40 execution attempts, could be baited into his own death with just alcohol? What if Shanks, with the most powerful Haki alive, could be overwhelmed while barely being touched? These characters are among the strongest in the entire series. What if I tell you each of them has a weakness that could easily make them lose any battle they fight? Yes, even Roger has one, and some of these flaws are so obvious that you'll wonder how these legends survived this long. From Luffy's dangerous stupidity to Garp's heroic foolishness, from Big Mom's psychological breaks to Dragon's eternal inaction. These aren't just minor quirks, these are critical vulnerabilities that have changed wars, toppled empires, and nearly killed some of the most powerful characters in the world. And trust me, once you see them, you can't unsee how exploitable they really are. Let's start with Blackbeards. Marshal D. Teach is one of the most dangerous pirates alive, wielding not one, but two of the most powerful devil fruits in existence. However, he does have a few critical weaknesses. One thing that could be used against Blackbeard is his weird devil fruit. You see, although Yami Yami no Mi is a Logia, it doesn't protect Blackbeard from physical attacks, and he can still get punched normally. In addition to this, every physical punch Blackbeard takes hurts way more than usual, which is one of his biggest weaknesses. Another major weakness of Blackbeard is his overconfidence. I mean, the guy literally traveled through the Grand Line on a wooden raft, which got completely destroyed when he tried to follow Luffy on a knock-up stream. I'm not sure how he even survived that. So I guess setting some sort of trap for him is a good idea, because he probably wouldn't see it coming. His arrogance makes him believe he's invincible, even in situations where any reasonable person would recognize the danger. Another character that never seems to recognize danger is Roronoa Zoro. Zoro is one of the best swordsmen in the world, and was able to deal serious damage to some of the strongest people alive. He scarred Kaido, defeated King, and continues to grow stronger with each battle. And although that's pretty scary, Zoro has one ridiculous weakness that makes him look like a complete amateur: his sense of direction. There were a bunch of ways someone could use this against him, but the easiest one would probably just be to take him to some kind of big mansion and fight him there. The guy would instantly get lost and probably wouldn't find his way back for years. Another less talked about weakness of Zoro's is his bad habit of not taking a fight seriously until he's on the brink of death. So one good way to avoid a fight against full power Zoro would be to try and end it as fast as possible. Although that's easier said than done. We've seen this pattern throughout the series, where Zoro experiments with his opponents, testing their abilities and limits before committing to his strongest techniques. Against Mr. One, he spent most of the fight trying to figure out how to cut steel. Against Kaku, he was playing around with new techniques. This tendency to treat battles like training exercises means there's a window of opportunity at the start of every fight where Zoro isn't using his full power, and a smart enemy could exploit that. Next up is Big Mom. On the surface, Big Mom seems pretty much unbeatable. She has a ridiculously powerful devil fruit, great haki, and an impenetrable body. However, if we start to dig deeper, it's pretty evident that she has some issues that can be used against her. For example, sometimes she'll demand a specific food, and if she doesn't get it, she will go berserk. In this state, she basically becomes a zombie. She's very predictable and will eventually become skinny and weak. However, in order for someone to exploit this weakness, they would first need to survive her berserk stage, and that's pretty much impossible. I mean, just ask the giants. But thankfully, there's a much easier thing someone can do to easily overpower Big Mom. Just break her favorite picture of Mother Caramel. Big Mom loves this picture so much that if anything happens to it, she'll immediately enter a meltdown, and during it, she's completely vulnerable to attacks. We've actually seen this in the series, when Beggy's plan was to break this photo to paralyze Big Mom and finish her off, which is a plan that would have easily succeeded if the crew was just a little bit luckier. At number 4, we have Sanji. Sanji's Germa modifications give him a giant power-up, which means there shouldn't be an easy way to trick and defeat him, except that there is one. The one problem that has haunted Sanji since the beginning of the show is his love for all women and his vow to never lay a finger on them. And this is much more than just a small gag in the show, as it puts him in seriously dangerous situations multiple times, like when he couldn't attack Mr. 2 because he put on Nami's face, and when he let Khalifa beat him up, or when he was okay with Viola killing him. Yeah, this guy may have the biggest and most obvious weakness out of any character in the show. Any enemy who knows about this weakness could easily send a female fighter after him, and Sanji would be completely neutralized without having to do much. Now, I'm sure you're not expecting this, but the next character we'll be talking about is Kaido. Now, you're probably wondering, what kind of weakness could Kaido have? Isn't he, like, invincible? Well, kinda. There's actually one thing that would guarantee his defeat. Firstly, same as Blackbeard, he obviously doesn't care about his crewmates, so using them is out of the question. The guy was even prepared to kill his own daughter when she stood in his way. However, one thing most people forget about Kaido is that this guy got captured by the Marines a total of 18 times. But how? Well, to get captured so many times would mean that he got into many fights with some of the strongest Marines in the world, like Garp, Sengoku, or the Admirals. Also, an important thing to remember is that the Marines rarely attack Emperors on their own, which means that Kaido most likely came to them. So, how can someone use this to defeat them? It's simple. You just send some good alcohol to Wano, wait for Kaido to get drunk, and soon enough he'll probably barge into Marineford himself, trying to take on all 3 Admirals at the same time. Kaido might be reckless, but there's someone even more reckless than he is. Luffy is currently one of the strongest pirates alive, and even the elders aren't too big of a problem for him. However, he does have a few weaknesses, with one being that he gets tired too quickly. And what's worse is, once he's out of juice, he literally turns into a grandpa. Still, it's not that easy to tire him out, since he was still in great shape after defeating Rob Lucci, who's very strong. Thankfully, Luffy has another weakness that's much worse than this one. He's, well, dumb. There's no nice way to say it. He's just so easy to trick. Like when Buggy tried to trick him every chance he had during Impel Down, but Luffy didn't realize it at all. He also completely trusted the people of Whiskey Peak and fell asleep surrounded by hundreds of them. This would have been his end if not for his crew, who had just a bit more brains than he did, and noticed that it was a trap. His gullibility extends beyond just trusting the wrong people too. Tell Luffy there's meat somewhere and he'll run toward it without thinking. Create a fake emergency where someone needs help and he'll charge in without considering if it's a trap. His combat instincts are incredible, but his reasoning ability is that of a child, making him surprisingly easy to manipulate despite his overwhelming strength. Like his grandson, Garp is also portrayed as a carefree guy, but I don't think he's as naive as Luffy, so we'll have to find another weakness for him. Using water is also out of the question, since he isn't even a devil fruit user. So what exactly is his weakness? Well, firstly, there are speculations that he held back against Kuzan in their battle, which I can totally believe since he didn't let Luffy defeat him on Marineford as well. So I guess if you become good friends with him, he'll just let you win, but that would be really hard to do and would take years. Thankfully, there's an easier way. Just like what happened in the show. If someone kidnaps a person who's close to Garp, he'll come flying to their rescue no matter who he has to fight against. This is certainly heroic of him, but it's also a very bad idea, since without any planning, he would basically just walk into a trap. For someone of Garp's legendary strength, this emotional vulnerability is a weakness that gets exploited over and over again. Next up, we have one of the most overpowered characters in One Piece, Whitebeard. Like all the characters we've talked about so far, he still has one obvious weakness anyone could exploit. He sees everyone on his crew as his child. Now, although this in itself is not a problem, it leads to so many bad things happening during his pirating career. For example, he didn't realize that Teach was only on his crew to steal the Yami Yami no Mi. He let his guard down, which allowed Squard to impale him with a sword. And most importantly, he literally destroyed half of his crew in order to save a single member. Yeah, I think you can easily see how this can be used in many ways to bring this legend down. His love for his sons made him blind to betrayal and willing to sacrifice everything for just one person. For the world's strongest man, having such a predictable emotional trigger is a critical weakness. But what about the weakness of the most mysterious character in One Piece? Monkey D. Dragon's weakness is unlike the others. His major flaw is that he doesn't do anything. Whenever there's a chance for him to appear, he decides not to. And this has been going on for over 25 years. His good friend Vegapunk is getting assassinated? No thanks. His son is trapped on Egghead? No thanks. Every big group in the world is making their move? Nah. You know what? I'm not even sure this counts as a weakness anymore. It's more like a lifestyle choice at this point. Dragon has been building up the Revolutionary Army for decades, talking about overthrowing the world government, but when it comes to actually showing up and doing something decisive, he's nowhere to be found. Click on this next video where I talk about the strength of every One Piece character. What are you waiting for? Click it!